There comes a moment in every person's life when the world grows quiet for just a second. In that stillness, a small voice whispers a question that can shake your entire existence. Are you living your life, or the life others decided for you? Most people run from that question. But today, you will not run. Today, you will listen. Part 1. Ethan Barnes had always been a quiet man. Not because he lacked opinions or dreams, but because he had spent most of his life trying to please everyone around him. From childhood, he was the boy who did what he was told. In school, teachers praised him for being agreeable. At home, his parents applauded him for being easy to manage. Friends liked him because he never caused conflict. And slowly, without even noticing, Ethan learned to live inside a set of rules he never asked for. Every morning he felt the same weight on his chest before he even got out of bed. It was the feeling that someone else was setting the rhythm of his day. His boss chose his workload. His family chose his weekends. Society chose his beliefs. Even strangers had the power to sway his mood. Ethan did not realize it, but he was being shaped by invisible forces. He had become what Napoleon Hill once described as a drifter, someone moved not by his own desires but by the expectations of everyone else. One evening, after another long day of pleasing people and ignoring his own needs, Ethan walked through the city with heavy steps. The world around him felt loud, filled with opinions, noise, and demands. He paused beneath a streetlight and looked at his reflection in a shop window. For a moment, he could not recognize the man staring back. His face looked tired, gentle, almost faded. It was as if he had been washed out by years of saying yes when every part of him wanted to say no. That night, he returned to his apartment and sat in silence. The television was off. His phone lay face down on the table. For the first time in years, Ethan allowed himself to be alone without distraction. The room seemed to breathe around him. Then something unexpected happened. A memory surfaced. He remembered being 8 years old, sitting alone in his backyard, drawing a wild futuristic city he dreamed of building someday. Back then, no one had told him what was possible and what was not. He simply believed he could do anything. When had that confidence disappeared? When had he stopped being the author of his own life? Ethan felt a sudden ache in his chest, a quiet grief for the person he used to be. But grief was followed by a spark, small but undeniable. It was the desire to reclaim his life. The same desire that Napoleon Hill wrote about when he taught that every transformation begins with a single decision. The decision to stop drifting. The decision to take back control of your mind. The next morning, Ethan woke before dawn. The world was still. He stood near the window and watched the sky turn from black to deep blue. Something felt different inside him. Lighter. Sharper. He realized he had a choice. He could go on living according to what everyone else expected, or he could begin listening to the voice he had buried for so long. He whispered to himself, "This is my life. No one else will live it for me." These were simple words, but as he spoke them, something shifted. For the first time in years, Ethan felt a sense of ownership over his own thoughts. As Napoleon Hill taught, all change begins when a person sets a clear intention. That morning, Ethan set his first intention. He would stop shrinking to make others comfortable. He would stop letting society write his story. He would begin, step by step, to reclaim his power. His first test came sooner than he expected. At work, his boss asked him to take on another project, one that would force him to work late every night. Ethan felt the old habit rise inside him, the automatic desire to say yes. But a new strength pushed its way to the surface. He took a slow breath. Then he spoke the word he had feared all his life. No. His boss looked surprised. Ethan felt panic rising for a moment, but something amazing happened. The world did not end. No one screamed. No one collapsed. The discomfort passed like a small wave, and behind it came a quiet sense of peace. For the first time, he had chosen himself. That evening, Ethan drove home with the windows down. The air felt different, cleaner somehow. The world looked new, brighter, as if he had stepped into a version of life that had always been waiting for him. He realized something powerful. Freedom does not begin with applause. It begins with a single act of self-loyalty. Over the next few days, Ethan made a simple practice. Before responding to anyone, before agreeing to anything, he paused. He asked himself, Is this what I want? Or is this what they want? This small question became his anchor. It helped him separate his true desires from the expectations of others. He also began spending time alone without fear. He took long walks in the park at sunrise. He sat at home in silence, letting his thoughts rise without judging them. At first, solitude felt uncomfortable. His mind raced with old doubts. But the more he stayed with the discomfort, the more he discovered something profound. Inside the silence, his true voice began to return. Stronger. Clearer. Unmistakably his own, Ethan started journaling every night. He wrote down what he believed, what he wanted, what he feared. He wrote the dreams he abandoned years ago. The more he wrote, the more he saw how much of his life had been shaped by other people's expectations. That realization was painful, but it was also liberating. He finally understood that he had the power to change everything. In those early weeks, he felt resistance from some people around him. A few friends questioned his new boundaries. Some said he had changed. Others suggested he was being difficult. But Ethan remembered something Napoleon Hill taught. When you decide to rise, the world will always test your resolve. Approval is temporary. Self-respect is permanent. Ethan faced each test with quiet strength. He reminded himself every day that living for yourself is not selfish. It is survival of the spirit. It is reclaiming your destiny from the opinions of people who barely understand their own point. One night, while writing in his journal, Ethan paused. A realization rose through him like a warm current. He was no longer disappearing. He was returning. He had stopped living as a reflection of the world and begun living as the creator of his own life. As he closed his notebook, he whispered, "My life belongs to me now." And for the first time, the words felt true. If you'd like, I can now write part 2 in the same style, length, and format. Part 2, The Strength You Give begins with the strength you keep. Everyone talks about giving. Give more kindness. Give more effort. Give more time. But almost no one asks the one question that can save your life. How can you keep giving when you are empty inside? The answer is not what the world wants to hear, but it is the truth that will set you free. Part 2. Ethan Barnes had always believed that good people were supposed to give without limits. His mother used to say that a selfless heart is the greatest gift a person can offer. Teachers praised him for always volunteering first. Friends admired him because he never said no. On the outside, he appeared generous and patient. On the inside, he was exhausted. He had spent years pouring himself into others, thinking that sacrifice was the price of being loved. He showed up for everyone. He helped coworkers who never thanked him. He stayed late to solve problems that were not his responsibility. He offered advice, support, and time to people who rarely gave anything in return. Whenever someone needed something, Ethan felt obligated to step forward. And every time he gave a piece of himself away, he became a little more invisible. One Saturday morning, after a week filled with favors, requests, and emotional burdens that were not his own, Ethan sat alone at his kitchen table. He felt drained in a way he had never experienced before. His coffee grew cold in his hands. His mind felt heavy, like his thoughts were weighed down with stones. For the first time, a quiet fear crossed his mind. What if he had nothing left to give? What if he had poured so much into others that he no longer had anything for himself? That question shook him. He had always believed that giving made him noble. But as he sat there, feeling empty and distant from himself, he realized something painful. He had confused service with self-neglect. He had confused kindness with self-abandonment. His generosity had turned into a quiet form of self-destruction. Later that afternoon, Ethan took a walk through a nearby park. The winter air was cold and sharp, but it cleared his mind. He watched families play, couples talk, and people walk their dogs. Everyone looked alive, connected to themselves, present in the moment. Ethan felt separate from it all, as if he were watching life from behind a window. He knew something had to change. He stopped near a tall oak tree and leaned against it. The rough bark pressed firmly against his back, grounding him. A memory came to him. He remembered reading something Napoleon Hill once wrote about personal strength. You cannot give what you do not possess. Those words rose in his mind like a lighthouse in fog. He had been giving out of depletion, not abundance. His service was not pure offering. It was survival, a way to earn approval, a way to avoid conflict, a way to feel worthy. He was not serving people from strength. He was serving them from fear. The truth hit him with surprising clarity. He had to learn to keep something for himself. Not out of selfishness, but out of responsibility. He could not build a strong life by constantly draining his own energy to fill the needs of others. He needed boundaries. The idea frightened him at first. Boundaries felt like walls. He feared disappointing people. He feared being misunderstood. But deep inside, he also felt a new sense of possibility. What if boundaries were not walls at all? What if they were the doors that kept his inner world safe? As he walked home, he whispered to himself, "Enough." The word felt both strange and powerful. Enough meant he had a right to rest. Enough meant he had a right to protect his energy. Enough meant he did not have to break himself to prove his goodness. That evening, he practiced a simple exercise. He sat in silence and asked himself 2 questions. What do I need to keep for myself? What do I need to stop giving away? The answers came slowly at first. His time. His emotional energy. His peace. His dreams. His sense of self-worth. He realized he had been sacrificing all of these things to people who did not value them. The next day, the real test arrived. His coworker Liam called him early in the morning. Liam was always in crisis, always needing something, always expecting Ethan to drop everything and fix his problems. Ethan felt the familiar pull of obligation. His heart beat fast. His mind whispered the old message. Say yes. Keep the peace. But another voice, quieter yet stronger, rose in him. The voice he had rediscovered in part 1. The voice of self-loyalty. He took a deep breath and said gently, I cannot help you today. I need this time for myself. The silence on the phone felt endless. Ethan braced himself. But then something surprising happened. Liam simply said, all right. Talk later. And he hung up. Ethan sat still, stunned. He had expected anger or guilt or disappointment. Instead, the world kept turning. No one collapsed. Nothing exploded. It was as if the universe had been waiting for him to claim this moment of strength. He felt something new blooming inside him. Not pride. Not relief. It was something deeper. It was the beginning of self-respect. Over the next weeks, Ethan made boundaries part of his daily life. Small steps at first. He stopped taking calls during his rest time. He said no to commitments he could not sustain. He allowed himself to rest without apologizing. He protected the quiet moments that helped him reconnect with himself. Every time he honored a boundary, he felt his strength return. His service changed too. Instead of giving from fear, he began giving from intention. Instead of offering pieces of himself he could not afford to lose, he offered what he had in abundance. He noticed something remarkable. The more he cared for himself, the more meaningful his service became. When he helped someone, he did it with presence and sincerity. His kindness had weight now. His words had power. His support carried no resentment, no exhaustion, no quiet bitterness. It came from a place of fullness. One evening, while watching the sunset from his balcony, Ethan felt a calm he had not felt in years. The sky glowed orange and gold. The world felt still and peaceful. He whispered softly, I am no longer losing myself to help others. I am building myself so I can truly serve. His journey took another turn when he realized that emotions themselves were another force he had been allowing to control him. Anger, fear, sadness, and anxiety had shaped many of his decisions. He had followed these feelings as if they were commands instead of signals. But just like he had learned to protect his energy, he now learned to protect his mind. Ethan noticed how quickly emotions rose and how easily they tried to take control. A single moment of irritation could ruin his morning. A single comment could make him doubt himself. A single fear could stop him from taking a step forward. He saw how many years he had been following these emotional storms without questioning them. He sat in his room one night and said to himself, my emotions are real, but they are not my master. This became his new principle. When anger came, he felt it but did not react. When fear came, he listened to it but did not obey. When sadness came, he allowed it but did not let it direct his choices. Each time he paused, each time he chose calm over reaction, he felt his mind strengthening. He realized something profound. Strength is not the absence of emotion. Strength is the ability to feel deeply without losing control. A strong person stands inside the storm and chooses their response. By the end of part 2, Ethan felt a new force rising inside him. Not aggression. Not coldness. It was clarity. He now knew where he ended and others began. He now knew that true service does not drain you. True service builds both you and the world around you. And for the first time, Ethan felt ready for the next step. He no longer wanted to survive life. He wanted to master it. If you want, I can now write part 3 in the same style. Part 3, The Strength Born in Solitude. Engaging hook. There comes a moment in every person's life when the cheers fade, the smiles disappear, and the room grows painfully quiet. It is in that quiet that your true strength is tested. Part 3, when the crowd finally thins, something unexpected happens. You start to see clearly. Many people who once stood close to you, people who laughed with you, advised you, and called themselves friends, begin to drift away. They were comfortable with the version of you that served their story, not yours. They liked the mask you wore, the role you played, the softness you used to keep the peace. But now, with the mask gone and your truth rising, their interest fades. What follows is a silence that feels heavy, almost crushing. It settles into your chest like a weight you do not know how to carry. You wonder if you made a mistake by changing. You wonder if authenticity was worth this sudden emptiness. The loneliness feels like a cold room where the walls echo everything you fear. For a moment you miss the noise, even if that noise kept you small. But what you feel now is not punishment. It is passage. It is transformation. Why does loneliness hurt so deeply? Because for most of your life, you were taught that safety lives inside the crowd. You were taught that belonging matters more than becoming. The presence of others can feel warm even when it quietly suffocates your voice. The herd comforts you, even when it demands that you shrink. So when you step away, when you stop performing, you suddenly face a world without the usual shields. This is where many turn back. They rush to reconnect, to apologize for changing, to soften themselves again just to feel accepted. They choose comfort over growth. They trade their truth for company. But if you endure this moment, if you face this empty space with courage, everything begins to shift. The silence that once frightened you becomes a forge. A private workshop where your mind, your spirit, and your purpose grows stronger. This is the sacred place Napoleon Hill spoke of, the inner chamber where great people discover themselves. Every master, every leader, every builder of dreams has walked through this quiet space. It is the ground where self-trust is born. The question becomes powerful. Will you abandon your truth to regain the comfort of company? Or will you stand firmly in the silence and allow it to shape you? To withstand the weight of this shadow, you must begin a new practice. Instead of seeing solitude as a prison, see it as a tool. Use it. Read books that sharpen your thoughts. Walk alone and let nature steady your rhythm. Sit with your dreams until they feel real in your hands. Think without distraction. Write what your heart has been trying to say for years. Let your purpose fill the spaces where people once stood. Every day you choose growth over approval, something inside you changes. You begin to depend less on the presence of others and more on the strength of your own principles. You stop asking who will walk with you and instead ask who is strong enough to keep up. You stop letting the crowd decide your direction and begin trusting your inner compass, the same compass that great leaders before you learned to follow. Slowly, your loneliness transforms. The silence becomes a teacher. The emptiness becomes room. The quiet becomes clarity. You stop feeling abandoned and start feeling free. You stop fearing solitude and begin to seek it because you know it sharpens you in a way company never could. One day, without even realizing it, you wake up and notice that the loneliness has changed its shape. It is no longer an ache. It is strength. It is independence. It is the foundation of a new life built on truth instead of approval. People may still come and go, but now you do not bend to earn their place. You do not shrink to fit their expectations. You do not trade your voice for their comfort. You become the kind of person who walks with quiet confidence, choosing relationships based on alignment, not desperation. And here is the beautiful part. When you grow strong in solitude, the right people begin to appear. People who respect your boundaries. People who value your authenticity. People who walk beside you because they admire your courage, not because they need your silence. This is the reward of solitude. It gives you the spine to stand alone and the wisdom to choose better company in the future. So if you feel lonely now, do not fear it. Do not rush to fill it. Let it shape you. Let it refine you. Let it build a version of you that will never again beg to belong. If you endure this season, you will emerge not wounded but reborn. Not emptied but expanded. Not fragile but unshakable. This is the lesson of part 3. Solitude is not the absence of love. It is the birthplace of self-respect. And once you learn to walk with yourself, you will never again fear walking without the crowd. Part 4. The power hidden inside your struggle. Engaging hook. There comes a day when life presses on you so hard that you think you might break. Yet that same pressure is the tool that reveals your greatest strength. Part 4. Every person walking this earth carries a private battle, a struggle no one else can see. Some hide it behind smiles. Others bury it under work. But inside, the weight pushes against them every moment. It is easy to look at your challenges and believe they are proof that something is wrong with you. It is easy to think you are falling behind while others move forward with ease. But the truth that Napoleon Hill spent his life teaching, is that your struggles are not signs of weakness. They are signs that something powerful is being shaped inside you. You may not feel strong right now. You may feel tired, discouraged, unseen. Maybe you have been working toward a dream that still feels far away. Maybe life keeps taking you places you never planned to go. Maybe the disappointments have become so many that you stopped counting them. But nothing is wasted. Every challenge you face becomes a tool in the hands of your future self. Why do struggles feel so painful if they are meant to help us? Because growth never happens in comfort. Pressure is the universe's most honest teacher. It strips away illusions. It reveals what you truly believe about yourself. It tests your character in ways success never could. Struggles expose your fears, your doubts, your limits. And when you refuse to give in, when you keep walking even when your legs shake, the struggle begins to work for you instead of against you. There is a moment in every great story when the hero is pushed to the edge. That moment is not there to break them. It is there to show them who they really are. You are in that moment now. And if you look closely, you will see that this moment is shaping you into someone who cannot be shaken easily. Consider this. A person who has never been tested will fall apart at the first sign of trouble. But a person who has endured, who has stood in storms and learned how to breathe through the wind, becomes unmovable. Their confidence rises from experience, not imagination. You are becoming that person. Every time you survive something you once thought would break you, you expand your capacity to handle life with strength and wisdom. The question is simple. Will you see your struggle as a prison or as a pathway? The choice shapes everything. Napoleon Hill taught that every adversity carries within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But only those who look for that seed will ever find it. When life pushes against you, push back with purpose. Use the pressure as proof that you are being prepared for more. Challenge yourself to think differently. Instead of asking why this is happening to you, ask what this moment is trying to teach you. Ask how it can make you wiser. Ask how it can make you stronger. When you do this, the struggle stops being an enemy and becomes a mentor. So how do you move through this season with power? First, stop pretending you are not struggling. Denial only adds weight to what you carry. Be honest with yourself. Look at your situation with clear eyes. Accept the challenge in front of you. When you stop running from your struggle, you begin to control it instead of letting it control you. Second, break the habit of self-pity. Pity drains your strength and blinds you to solutions. Replace it with responsibility. Tell yourself, I will learn from this. I will rise from this. I will use this. Responsibility is what transforms pain into progress. Third, understand that struggle builds skills you cannot learn any other way. Patience, discipline, endurance, emotional strength, focus. These qualities are not born in comfort. They are born in difficulty. And once you develop them, no one can take them from you. Fourth, stay connected to your purpose. When life gets heavy, it is your why that keeps you moving. Remind yourself daily of the future you are fighting for. Remind yourself of the dreams that sparked your journey. Remind yourself of the person you want to become. Purpose turns struggle into fuel. And finally, trust that the pain you feel today is shaping the strength you will use tomorrow. Every mountain climbed adds power to your step. Every setback survived adds wisdom to your mind. Every doubt conquered gives you a deeper belief in yourself. You are not the same person you were before this struggle began. You are stronger now. You may not feel the change yet, but it is happening. The most successful people in history were not the ones who avoided difficulty. They were the ones who learned how to harness it. They transformed pressure into progress. They used adversity as a stepping stone to greatness. And you are being prepared for that same path. So today, hold your head high. Walk with quiet confidence. You are not failing. You are forming. You are not breaking. You are becoming. Your struggle is not a dead end. It is a doorway. And when you finally walk through it, you will understand that every hardship was shaping the unshakable strength living inside you. This is the lesson of part 4. Do not fear the struggle. Respect it. Learn from it. Rise through it. For inside your hardest moments lives the power that will define your future. Part 5. The moment you decide to rise, engaging hook, there comes a point when you get tired of watching your life from the sidelines. In that moment, something awakens inside you, something that refuses to settle for anything less than growth. Part 5. Every journey has a turning point, a single moment when a person looks in the mirror and decides they can no longer live by excuses. This moment rarely arrives with fireworks or applause. It comes quietly, often in the middle of frustration or disappointment. But when it comes, it changes everything. It is the moment you stop drifting and start directing your own path. For a long time, you may have allowed life to push you around. You may have let circumstances speak louder than your potential. You may have listened to fears that kept telling you to stay small. And each day that passed while you hesitated, you felt a part of yourself shrinking, dimming, losing fire. But the truth is simple. You were not weak. You were waiting. You were gathering strength without knowing it. Then the moment comes. You wake up one morning or one night, and a voice inside you says enough. Enough of holding back. Enough of delaying your dreams. Enough of letting other people's opinions shape your steps. Enough of letting your old habits write your future. That voice is not anger. It is clarity. It is the beginning of your rise. Napoleon Hill taught that every great achievement begins with a clear decision, a firm choice that does not bend with emotion. Emotion wants comfort. Decision wants progress. Emotion wants the familiar. Decision wants the future. When you make a true decision, your life begins to align with it. You start taking steps you avoided before. You start seeing possibilities you never noticed. Doors that once seemed locked begin to open. But here is the truth most people never learn. A real decision is not made with words. It is made with action. You cannot simply tell yourself that you want a new life. You must prove it through discipline. You must show up even when you are tired. You must stay consistent even when no one is watching. That is when your decision becomes real. This is the part where many people quit. They want change without discomfort. They want results without sacrifice. They want growth without routine. But growth always demands something from you. It asks you to leave behind habits that no longer serve you. It asks you to rise above your excuses. It asks you to do what you said you would do even when your mood changes. Think of it this way. A seed only becomes a tree after breaking through its shell and pushing upward through the dark soil. That process is not easy, but it is necessary. You are in that same phase. You are breaking your old shell. You are pushing through the soil of your past doubts. You are becoming someone stronger than you have ever been. So how do you rise once you have made your decision first? Remove the distractions that pull you back into old patterns. Your mind is like a garden. If you allow weeds to grow, they will choke the seeds of your new life. Weeds can be negative people, wasted time, unhealthy habits, or environments that keep you small. Clearing them creates space for new growth. Second, create daily habits that guide you toward your goal. Success is not built on rare moments of inspiration. It is built on small repeated actions that compound over time. Reading, planning, practicing, thinking, improving. These simple tasks, done consistently, reshape your future. Third, protect your mind from doubt. Doubt is the enemy that whispers you are not ready, you are not talented enough, you will fail again. Napoleon Hill taught that thoughts become things. If you allow doubt to live in your mind, it will stand between you and your potential. Replace doubt with intention. Replace fear with direction. Replace hesitation with one bold step. Fourth, visualize your future every day. See the person you want to become. Feel the life you want to create. Picture your success as if it is already forming. Your mind responds to images more than words. When you see your future clearly, your actions begin to move toward it naturally. This is not fantasy. It is preparation. And finally, remember that no rise is perfect. You will stumble. You will face moments of frustration. You will question yourself. But you must not turn back. Turning back means returning to the life you chose to leave. Instead, rise again. Rise tired. Rise uncertain. Rise slowly if you must. But rise. Over time, something incredible happens. Your decision becomes identity. The person you once dreamed of becoming becomes the person you are now living as. You begin to trust yourself in ways you never did. You become someone who follows through. Someone who leads themselves. Someone who stands firm under pressure and moves forward even when the path is not clear. And then one day, without warning, you look back at the old version of yourself and realize how far you have come. You are no longer the person who waited for the perfect moment. You are no longer the person who feared the judgment of others. You are no longer the person who kept shrinking to fit the expectations of the world. You have become someone who rises. This is the lesson of part 5. Your life changes the moment you decide that it must. And once you commit with your whole heart, the world begins to shift in your favor. You are rising into a future built by your own courage, discipline, and will. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop a person who has truly decided to grow. Part 6. The life you build with your own hands. Engaging hook. There comes a moment when you realize no one is coming to save you, and strangely, that moment becomes the beginning of your true power. Part 6. Final. Every great journey ends the same way. Not with luck. Not with miracles. But with a person who finally chooses to become responsible for their own life. You stand now at that ending, but also at a new beginning. Everything you have learned so far has brought you to this point where you understand that growth is not an accident. It is a decision repeated daily until it becomes identity. Napoleon Hill taught that every achievement begins with a burning desire. But desire alone is not enough. You must transform that desire into a plan. Then you must transform that plan into action. Then you must transform action into habit. And finally, you must transform habit into an unshakable mindset. This is the process that shapes a new life. Look at the journey behind you. You learn to protect your energy. You learn to stand alone and not fear solitude. You learn that struggle is a forge and not a punishment. You learn to rise with intention instead of emotion. You learn to decide and stay committed even when the world around you stayed the same. Each lesson was a step toward becoming a stronger, wiser, more disciplined version of yourself. Now comes the final lesson. The life you want will not be handed to you. You must build it. Brick by brick. Day by day. Choice by choice. No shortcuts. No magic solutions. No waiting for everything to be perfect. The builder builds even when the weather is not good. Even when the tools are limited. Even when progress feels slow. The builder keeps going because the builder knows that the future depends on today's work. You are that builder now. People often think success belongs to the lucky. But if luck were enough, many more people would be living the life they dream about. The truth is simpler. Success belongs to those who take small steps every day, even when no one is watching. Success belongs to those who train their mind, control their emotions, and stay loyal to a purpose bigger than their doubts. So what does it mean to build your life with your own hands? It begins with discipline. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. Without discipline, dreams remain dreams. With discipline, dreams become plans. Plans become routines. Routines become results. And results become transformation. In your new life, discipline is not punishment. It is freedom. Freedom from your old habits. Freedom from excuses. Freedom from fear. Every morning you wake up with a choice. Will you be the old version of yourself? Or will you become the person you promised yourself you would be? The world cannot make that choice for you. Only you can. The second part of building your life is protecting your mind. The mind is the workshop where all success is created. Every thought plants a seed. Some thoughts bring growth. Others bring destruction. If you fill your mind with doubt, your future will shrink. If you fill your mind with resentment, your heart will grow heavy. But if you fill your mind with purpose, discipline, and belief, your life will rise. Speak to yourself with strength. Speak to yourself with clarity. Speak to yourself as someone who is capable of becoming great. Your mind listens to your own voice more than any other voice in the world. Make sure that voice is building you and not breaking you. The third part of building your life is surrounding yourself with the right people. You have learned that many who claim to support you only stayed as long as you served their comfort. Now you understand that environment shapes destiny. Stand with people who want you to grow. People who challenge you to think bigger. People who are not threatened by your success but inspired by it. If you cannot find these people immediately, do not worry. Become one of them yourself. And in time, your energy will attract others like you. Leaders recognize leaders. Builders recognize builders. Purpose recognizes purpose. The fourth part of building your life is taking consistent action. Not massive action once in a while, but consistent action every day. This is where most people fail. They wait for motivation. They wait for the right feeling. They wait for circumstances to get easier. But consistent action does not wait. It moves. It builds. It trusts the process. Every page written. Every workout completed. Every book studied. Every quiet hour of reflection. Every step toward a goal. These small actions, repeated without excuses, create a powerful momentum that becomes impossible to stop. And finally, building your life means understanding that success is not a destination. It is a lifestyle. It is not something you reach once. It is something you practice every day. When you reach one goal, you set another. When you grow in one area, you seek growth in another. You live with purpose. You walk with clarity. You rise with intention. You refuse to settle for anything less than your potential. This is the truth people avoid because it requires responsibility. But responsibility is not a burden. It is your path to freedom. When you take responsibility for your choices, life becomes something you shape, not something that happens to you. Look at yourself now. You have walked through doubt. You have survived loneliness. You have endured struggle. You have made decisions that many people fear to make. And now, standing at the end of this journey, you are no longer the person you once were. You are stronger. You are clearer. You are more focused. And you are ready. So this is your final message. Build your life with your own hands. Build it with courage. Build it with discipline. Build it with purpose. Build it with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that nothing is impossible when the mind is directed with intention. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your life. Go and build it. If this story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful lessons. Hit the like button if you felt a spark inside you. Share this video with someone who needs motivation today. And drop a comment below. Tell me what part of the story touched your heart the most.